Hey friends, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. And for this episode, we're talking about the 5 unique winter adventures with Jim and Tom from Under the Radar. We had an absolute blast. You actually get a bonus one. There's 6 total in this episode. So if you're looking to get out and enjoy that snow, this is the episode for you. And our guest today on the podcast, I am so excited to do this, from the Emmy award-winning Under the Radar, Jim and Tom, the co-creators of Under the Radar. My friends, it has been a minute since you and I have spoken, but welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Just so you know, you're supposed to say my name before Jim's.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did ask how to start this, and you didn't. That was your chance.
It's alphabetical, always alphabetical.
Well, I'm lucky anybody's saying my name at all. So no, thanks so much for having us. We appreciate it because, we've been locked in our offices for so long. We have gotten out a lot with Dave Lorenz from Pure Michigan. We've been traveling for the last 6 months with him, just trying to explain to people that if you follow the proper protocol, you do what you're supposed to do, you can, if you have to or you want to, you can still travel safely around Michigan.
And Tom, you were just in Flint with him, right? Yes?
Yeah, actually, I couldn't make that one, so Jim went.
Jim was
solo. So Jim went, yeah. So
very
Tom
cool.
was sorting his sock drawer, so that's what we kept saying on the videos.
That's very funny.
We've been having so much fun with Dave Lorenz on the road, and the great thing is, even though we're filming for the Pure Michigan website and our Facebook page as well, we're still getting a chance to scout for a lot of future shows that we'll be doing. So we're meeting some incredible people, seeing how they're getting through this insanity of the COVID thing. But it's been really rewarding and very informational, I should say. So
that's awesome. And so, guys, before we get into the list of winter things to do here in Michigan, I do want to kind of ask about the process, because I think what you guys do is super interesting. So you talk about scouting, Tom. What is that process to make an episode? How much scouting is there, and when do you edit the locations before, or you just go to a bunch of places and kind of boil it down in post? What is that like for you guys?
Well, actually, it's a lot more organized than you would think it would be, knowing Jim and myself, 2 men, 1 brain. But it's actually very organized. The beauty of what we do is no one's really telling us where to go, who to talk to, what to say, how to say it. So everything is genuine. All the people we talk to, there's no agenda. Nobody's paid. There's no pay to play. It's just, we just sit down and talk about the state. And right, Jim? I mean, we just talk, we want to represent the totality of Michigan, and we just sit down and brainstorm.
Yeah, we build a list of where we want to go for a season. Then we break down that list and talk about it by episode. And then we start picking places. And it is, I think it's much harder as we go forward in time. Like season 1 was super easy. You got a big list of stuff. Now we keep coming up with these ideas like road trips and food specific shows where we have to keep reminding ourselves, hey, we haven't been, back to Lansing in 2 seasons, or we haven't been to Ferndale. And, so we have to kind of keep juggling the locations to make sure we're on top of being as inclusive as we can for the whole state.
Gotcha. So we are here obviously to talk about things to do in winter. As we are speaking, it's currently snowing over most of the state, and there's a lot, as Tom said before we started, he prepped for all of the things we can do. We're not going to get to all of them, but we're going to boil it down to 5 things that are unique to Michigan when you're dealing with this beautiful winter season. So I will toss it to you guys and kind of get us started. Where should we start, and what should we do?
It still amazes me how many people I know that have not been to Michigan's Upper Peninsula. It amazes me that we have what I call our own out west, our own big sky country. And it amazes me how many people have not been up there. And the winter is in a lot of ways the most exciting, fun, and adventurous time to be up there. The Eben Ice Caves, if you have not been to the Eben Ice Caves, it's a little spot. I think the name of the town is Alger, Michigan. It's southwest of Munising and southeast of Marquette. And it's in a little town. You walk across a farmer's field, who's nice enough to let you go back there. Walk about 1.5 miles, 2 miles in, and there's this giant waterfall of ice that creates these caves. And the walk back in there is magical. It's so beautiful. So if you've got the legs for it, and I recommend putting those crampons on your boots, hiking back in to see the Edelman ice caves is a completely uniquely Michigan experience.
So what else? Where should we go now?
Well, I think we should go to a place that Tommy's hasn't even been to, that we haven't been to on the show, but was part of this Flint and Fenton trip that I just made with Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Peabody ice climbing. This is in Fenton. It's on 12 acres. They don't need all of it because it's a tower of ice that you can climb. So basically, back to the UP, up in Munising, Pictured Rock Lakeshore is world-class ice climbing. Well, these folks who do it up there also live downstate. So they created this training village of this tower that's at the top of they have their crane propped up, holding telephone poles. They load it up with ice as soon as it starts freezing, and they start climbing. And that, I believe, is one of the unique things about Michigan. I mean, there's not many states that do ice climbing out east, out west, but they're not doing a lot of ice climbing in Florida.
Right.
So we've got that one up on them. So I was really blown away with how prepared, how they bring people into the sport. It's like a bunny hill of ice climbing.
Very cool. Very cool.
And speaking of, states that, very few states offer a place where you can go, the general public, and luge. And go luging. It's amazing. And in Michigan, we have two places where you can luge. It's a Muskegon Winter Sports Complex over Muskegon, obviously, where you can go luging. And they actually train people that have been to the Olympics there with their luge track. But aside from the luging, though, that they've got like a half-mile trail that you can ice skate through the woods. They've got you can go cross-country skiing, play ice hockey. It's a complete winter sports complex in Muskegon, but you can luge there. Also, the UP Luge Club up in, I believe it's Negaunee, Michigan, up in the UP. You can also, the general public, you or I can go luging up there as well. So that's a uniquely Michigan experience in that only a couple of states in the entire United States offer that, and no place near here at all. So that's a very cool thing to try.
Yeah, and I'm on the west side of the state, so the Muskegon Park is absolutely incredible, and one of the things, I love ice skating this time of year, but I like being able to go into the woods because that's something super unique, because typically it's on a rink or it's in the middle of a city. That thing is incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing to be able to ice skate through a forest. It is almost fairy tale.
Yes.
That is so cool. So yeah, that place is amazing.
I think this is probably on Tom's list too, but I'm going to steal it. We didn't talk in advance of what things we were going to pick, so this is kind of fun. Hope I was that my stuff wasn't stolen. I love the fact that between Michigan and I think Minnesota, we both claim the birthplace of snowmobiling. But the Top of the Lake Snowmobile Museum up in Nobbinway in the UP.
Say it again.
What's that?
Say it again. Nobbinway.
Nobbinway is a phenomenal collection of vintage snowmobiles and memorabilia that really kind of shows the progress of what a snowmobile was. It was originally a workhorse machine. It got trappers out to the woods to check their traps. It was part of taming the outdoors. They would use it to bring trees in it was really part of like what a tractor was back in the 30s. It was not sexy, but it evolved. And there's like such a great era of machines where you see happy faces on these older machines. It's just a fun thing to walk through. And Charlie and his wife, Marilyn, up there are just, they're so committed to it. They've changed the location from when we filmed it in season 2.
I think it's been been like 8 or 9 years. Yeah.
So they enlarged the space and they've filled that up. But they have some pretty rare machines in there, and I believe that's probably one of the biggest snowmobile museums in the country.
Yeah, it's called the Top of the Lake Snowmobile Museum, and I'm not a snowmobiler. And when we went up there the first time, I'd never even been on a snowmobile, and I have not stopped talking about that place for 9 years now. Like Jim said. Yeah, the snowmobiles of the 50s, the 40s, and the 50s, they're like little cartoon characters. It's just they've got snowmobiles that have been in movies it's just an amazing place. You know what? We went dog sledding at Nature's Kennel sled adventures up in the UP. It's in a town called McMillan, which is you just cross the bridge and go sort of north towards Tequamanon Falls, which we should get to too. And it's called the Nature's Kennel Dog Sled Adventures, where you can actually get on a dog sled and take it through some absolutely beautiful woods on trails. That's a unique experience. And these dogs are absolutely amazing. They love what they do. I used to think it was a cruel thing, but these dogs love what they do. They live for it. They're so affectionate. And it's amazing how loud they are until you say mush. Although that's not really what you say, but until you take off in the woods and the dogs are silent and you're flying through these beautiful forests with these dogs in front of you. It's just a uniquely Northern Michigan UP experience. So
that's awesome. Now, I do want to talk about Tequamanon because you mentioned it. So let's talk about that, because one of the reasons I'm so excited to talk to you guys is because the beauty of the state of Michigan is it has 4 distinct seasons. And specific to Tequamanon, you've got 2 that you can, 3 if you include fall colors, but like you've got a summer version of Tequamanon and then this version.
Yeah. Yeah. The winter version is, you can actually go, they have organized snowshoeing tours up there, snowshoeing hikes where you can go on. And what's her name again?
It's Teresa Neal.
Teresa Neal is the park ranger up there. She's wonderful. She's fascinating. She takes you on like an hour and a half snowshoe hike through the woods, and then you come up on the falls at the end of the hike, and it's just beautiful. The lower falls are actually my favorite in the winter because it's just a cascade of ice and steam and the beautiful color of the water. It looks like root beer. It's just that's a very magical place.
Absolutely.
I've been using the word magical a lot. Maybe I should become a magician.
Jim and Tom, I want to say before we kind of wrap up today, it's been a pleasure to talk to you guys. And I want to ask you a question because I think people who interact with you instantly get this energy off of you and this vibe off of you. And I wonder if I could kind of veer a little bit and ask you a question about if in 2008 that doesn't happen to you, where do you think you guys would be? Because you guys are so full of energy and so fun, and it's clear that this was the thing to do. And that impetus in 2008 allowed that thing to happen. And you guys, I often say this, there's a group of people in the world that get younger as they grow older, and you guys certainly fall into that category.
Yeah, no, that's such a compliment. Thank you so much, Gail. We have so much mental energy. Jim and I think we're meant to do something together. We met years ago in rock radio, and we were trying to do creative things back then and fell apart. And for years, we got together again in a band. And yeah, I mean, what would we be doing? Circus? What do you think, Jim?
I don't know. It kind of makes me sad to even think that this would not have happened had there not been a financial meltdown then.
Yeah.
I do think about the things that we were just doing stupidly in the 80s, just because we had a recording studio at our fingertips when we worked in radio, but they were all things that led up to this. I mean, it wasn't a grand plan, but it's like, you hear people talk about, doors opening. This door opened, and we were lucky enough to be in the same place when that happened, because it would not have happened with me alone. It would not have happened with Tom alone. Exactly. We definitely needed to be together for this to happen. And I'm not a grand plan person, but we talk about all these experiences we've had in our careers that led us to this point, that I can be a sales guy and a camera guy. There's not a lot of people with that skill set.
Yeah. So, like as Edna says in the movie, The Incredibles, 90% of what happened to us is luck, but luck favors the prepared. And I think all of our past experiences together and the way we interacted together, we were prepared. And when we got thrown this opportunity, we just, like you said, we have more energy than we should have. I don't go anywhere near energy drinks. My head might explode like scanners.
But I think we're always skating even now. Like, there's been times when funding wasn't there from certain funders. we didn't lament that. We just looked forward. There's a Dory that says, just keep swimming.
Exactly.
Just keep swimming. And we're just quoting cartoon movies.
Because that's what we watch.
But I think that's the message is it's not always going to be easy. And all the small businesses we feature, there are times that they don't make it and that they regroup and they do something else because they're driven that way. We featured a restaurant that had a sign above the door that said 3 feet away. That success is only 3 feet away. Just keep digging. That was, that stuck in my head.
Oh yeah. There was like year 3 or 4 where we almost didn't make it. But we never looked back because it's our nature. We both had that same nature. It's you don't look back. You keep looking forward because you have to. You can't give up. That's what I love about people in Michigan. We work hard. We're proud of where we live. We love where we live, and we just keep forging ahead. So,
gentlemen, as I said, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for spending a couple minutes with us. Get out and enjoy that winter weather, and we will talk again soon.
Thanks, Eric.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
And there they go. A huge thanks to Jim and Tom. Like I said, the energy is just a blast to hang out with those guys. If you love what you're hearing on this podcast, like and review wherever you get your podcast. And until next time, I am Eric Hultgren. We'll see you around.